Welcome to Beit Yehoah, House of Prayer for All Peoples. I'd like to read you a story. Once upon a time, the world was made up of 3 great lands and a big sea. This was the time of the old life, the old geography. In the beginning of this period, there was no man on the supercontinent Gondwana, in the south, nor on the continent Siberia in the north, or the small supercontinent Euro-America in the middle. Indeed, no 4-legged creature or 2-legged creature walked the earth at the beginning of this period, just fish floating in the great sea. There were no seed-bearing trees on the earth at the beginning of this great age, but just the old life we call Paleozoic. When one asked the great master of knowledge, Mr. Naturalistic, Macroevolutionist, how long was this time, this old time? He said many million moons did this period last. When asked, can you be a little more specific, a little more accurate, he replied, it was from between 416 million years plus or minus 2.8 million years to 359.2 million years plus or minus 2.5 million years. I am the great scientist, and I will tell you what happened back then. In those days, Mr. Macroevolution said the first fish evolved legs and began to walk on Gondwana with their newly evolved legs. This happened around 365 million years before Christ. It was from these great Devonian fish, the first pioneers of Gondwana, Siberia, and Euro-America, that came forth every creature in creation terms, with backbones. From the fish of Devonia came forth the amphibian, the reptile, the bird, the mammal, and the man. Although we cannot see this, for it happened long before our time, we can call it science, for it is we, the Macroevolution family, who have pronounced it to be true, without observation. We, after all, walk by faith, and not by observation. But we bear the name science, so all we say, whether observed or unobserved, this is science. But these wonderful ancestors of ours we call in the mystic language of macroevolution Crossopterygians. Let's try that again. Crossopterygians. Crossopterygians. This is from the mystical language. A time came when the family of the reptiles, we call it in the mystical language cotylosaurs, were not satisfied with things as they were. So they fought and overcame their neighbors and produced reptiles after their kinds, dinosaurs after their kinds, and birds not after their kinds, and mammals not after their kinds. They were the strong ones who survived and transformed themselves into birds who fly in the air, and mammals whose blood is warm within themselves. One day a man of great wisdom landed on Gondwana. He saw how Mr. Naturalistic Macroevolutionist had created an ancestry for all men, but he was aware that not all men agreed with the great scientist, macroevolutionist. So he raised some significant questions. What are the evidence for your fairy tale great macroevolution? Great macroevolution spoke with a voice bold and strong. Because we were not there when all this developing of legs and new kinds took place, we speak in such a way as to convince people who will believe us because of who we are. Our authority is not observation, but based on what we do not see. We created imaginary scenarios which to us appear plausible. In the mystic realms of homologous similarities, geographical distribution, fossils and genetics are our beliefs supported. We speak of the fact of evolution when we know we cannot prove it. But when we use the term fact, many more believe us than if we say theory. So it is. So we use the term fact. All who do not agree with us, we simply seek to undermine their position in our society and have them discredited. The man of great wisdom, called Logos, asked, "Please explain in a little more detail." Macroevolution responded, "Of course, to the ignorant, I am light. I am the light. If inheritance from common ancestry is a fact, many modern organisms should exhibit similarities inherited from these common ancestors. Those similarities are linked to common habits and means of livelihood. Take on the mystic name homologous. For example, the bones in the wing of a bird and the arm of a man are similar with the sevenfold similarity. See also the caiocum in a rabbit, an embryo and a man. The common bone structure in all earth creatures, we believe, say they come from the common ancestor, the Devonian fish, who of course mystically did not begin with his bone structure, but as has been observed, was one step in the path of its development. The appendix is possessed by man and rabbit. The rabbit uses it to store partially digested food, and the man does not apparently use it for any purpose. Thus, can we not say man came from rabbit? Embryonic homology. A most wonderful homology is that between embryos of all animals with backbones. Early embryos of all backboned animals are similar. Mammal embryos pass through a fish stage, where they have structures from which fish gills develop. The resemblances of embryos are regarded as one evidence that remote ancestors of mammals are fishes. In microscopic homology, we find that all animals and plants are composed of cells which have common features. Far be it from us to believe that common features could come from a common designer. No, that means they must come from a common ancestor. Cells even divided by an esoteric process called mitosis and form the mystical gametes by the wonderful process of meiosis. Are not all these processes and steps similar in all plants and animals? That does not and cannot mean that it came from someone who had a common design plan. No, they must come from a common ancestor through the great mystical Darwinian systems of natural selection. Finally, we have that most wonderful and deep homology of biochemical and physiological homology. Are not cells composed of the living substance protoplasm? This wonderful substance is similar both in the kingdoms of animals and plants. The complex, deep and mysterious high-energy phosphates and nucleic acids are nearly universal. They are nearly Catholic. Also in fluids such as blood, similarities continue. Are these not indicative of common ancestry in the mystical Darwinian system of natural selection?